with this meeting of the Parks and Public Works Committee. Ms. Dean, do you want to note the attendance? I hadn't heard from Brian that he wasn't going to make it, but hopefully he'll mosey in here shortly. And let's start with agenda approval.
So moved.
Dies for lack of a second. I'll second that. We'll approve the agenda and go to public comment. No public present. Anybody else want to say anything? Bill, you good? Okay, all right. Then let's go ahead and close public comment and move on to approval of the minutes.
I didn't have any problems with the
I
minutes.
didn't either. I thought they were good.
That sounds like a motion and a second to me.
Approved. And let's move on. I think we get a presentation today, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna do things a little differently today. We didn't really have any agenda items to specifically talk about, but we kind of want to let you in on a little bit, kind of the day in the life of Public Works, right? So our normal course of activities are the day-to-day maintenance of the city and all of the infrastructure. And, that takes up pretty much all of our time. However, there are many times when we are experiencing emergent situations. And it turns out that is almost routine in a way, because we can almost expect that there's going to be emergencies, there's going to be issues. And sometimes, we want you to understand how our thought process is in handling that. So Phil had an idea about kind of presenting this, giving you a presentation about how we typically do this. Phil, of course, a deputy director, but also our operations manager. So he's intimately aware of all of these types of situations and how our operations go. So here's Phil to kind of give us a presentation on that.
So this idea started on our Monday leadership meeting in Parks and Public Works, because Jeff and I saw this wave building of things that needed to be done that week. So there were 3 pieces of broken infrastructure that all occurred basically in the same time period, which is what I'm going to show you. It was also Big Truck Day that week, which a lot of our staff attended. And then all the other things that we normally do, we were doing too. But it was an exceptional week. And we looked at each other and thought, if we get through this, maybe we'll give a presentation. And that's why we're here, because we did get through 2 of 3. So situation 1, and adjust this so I'm not stooping. That's better. On Douglas Avenue, we had a broken irrigation valve. It was on a main line, and so that was a 4-inch diameter main line. We actually had the irrigation shut off to the business park because we couldn't operate the valve, so we needed to fix that. We used a Vector truck and we used hydro excavation to get down there. So we're looking at a valve 7 feet below grade. The first picture on the left there is the start of the hydro excavation. The middle picture there is the valve assembly going up to the sidewalk level. And then the third picture is shoring inside the trench so that we keep our staff safe. And the fourth picture is Austin Hilton, one of our water staff who repaired the valve. We got some help from North Bend on this because we didn't have the right size valve parts, the inward parts that were broken. And so North Bend helped us out. We got that, and we got that fixed within 4.5 hours. One thing I'll note is a couple of years ago, we did not have the staff to accomplish this. So I don't think we had the skill and we didn't have the numbers to take on a project like this, but we managed to pull this off. So that's situation 1, that's resolved, that's now done. Situation 2, which we actually repaired the same day using the same Vector truck, which saved us some dollars because that's 1 mobilization, 2 job sites. So in the previous week, our stormwater team were doing catch basin inspections, and they discovered something in the catch basin that smelled like it shouldn't be there, and found out that in fact, the sewer was plumbed into the catch basin. And so that's an illicit discharge. We can't do that. And so we immediately set about figuring out how to repair it. Top left is the Vector truck. Top center is what we uncovered. And there's a lot going on in there. So the gray lines are electrical, the white lines are water, and the green and red line, that's where the sewer line is plumbed into the stormwater catch basin, which it shouldn't have been. Also, if you'll see, there's a crossing of black lines, smaller black lines within that trench. Those are water service lines. So there's lots going on in there. This is why we do hydro excavation in these instances. We're not going to put an excavator bucket in the ground there. So our staff replumbed and basically rerouted that sewer pipe to the sewer and isolated it from the catch basin. And we're able to do that in a day as well. And so that situation is also resolved. With both situation 1 and 2, all we're waiting on is pouring concrete to replace the sidewalk in both cases, but the actual repairs are done.
What intersection was that?
This is Falls and King Street. It's directly behind just behind the middle stick. So.
Was it the city's sewer line?
City Hall.
But was it
And it
A-
was,
a-
yeah,
a
it was
city-
plumbed when it was done in the town center phase 1. It was done at that time and nobody thought.
When was Town Center Phase 1? When was that?
2010?
It's been a while. A long while.
So this was a mistaken, this
Correct.
was a mistake that was done by the city 15 years ago.
City's contract.
The one we had all the problems with. Yeah, okay.
You have a longer
And
memory
which
than I do.
catch basin?
Could you repeat the question?
The catch basin?
Mhm.
Which was it that it was, I mean, that it took this long to find it?
It was one of the 4,000 catch basins that we have that is close, the one closest to there.
Okay.
So, we have loads of them. There's one in particular that we detected this. That's part of the program. The inspection program is designed to catch stuff like this.
Yeah.
Don't know why it wasn't caught before. Maybe it just wasn't the right time, but we caught it now and addressed it. So
And I assume we've checked the other 3,999 since then.
we haven't.
Yeah.
But we do actually. You raise a good point. We inspect half of them a year.
Yeah.
Half of them
Half of them a year. And this year we've found 200 that weren't in GIS and we're adding those to the system. So we have information about our utilities in GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, I think. So it's basically
Physical.
geophysical, I apologize. Yeah. And so basically it's mapping that also has data associated with it. So you can click on an object on a map, right? And it will give you data, what kind of pipe it is, what size, when it was installed. So there were 200 catch basins that we found in this inspection cycle that weren't in that system, and that system is how we track them. So they're now in. So basically our staff are doing their job. We're finding these things out because they're doing their job. So
And this one we found out with our noses.
that is correct. Yes.
So are we going back and looking at the other catch basins involved in that construction project?
They've all been inspected as part of this inspection cycle, and we did not detect similar issues.
Have we informed our construction management firm, there was an escape?
No, we have not.
Please do. You're supposed to prevent this kind of thing for us.
Is this one we just went through
Litigation with?
litigation with?
Excuse me?
I believe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I don't know. Town Center Phase 1, the contractor, I don't think it's the same contractor as the
Oh.
Phase 2. That
Uh-uh.
was the one that we had the problem.
Oh,
Was Casey was phase 2.
Carrie.
Carrie.
Carrie, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carrie. But I don't know who the Phase 1 contractor was. And I don't know who the construction manager was. It was so long ago, I don't even know if any of those guys are even in business.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have found it except that it was dry season. And somebody heard water running. And they thought, well, where's that water coming from? And everything is dry. Every pipe is dry. Where's the water coming from? So they looked and they found the catch basin. The catch basin smelled funny.
It wasn't water.
Water and a whole lot more, but okay.
When you inspect those catch basins, other than the not being on GIS, are there other, what are the other sorts of things
Mhm.
that you tend to find that need mediation?
The two main things we're looking for, well, there's three main things. We're looking for illicit discharge. We're looking for things that shouldn't be in there, which we've discussed. We're also looking for, there is a sediment trap. There's a sump in those catch basins, which the design is that keeps, that sump captures particulates and other things that then, if we clean that sump out, they don't make it to the river. And so we have a threshold at which we measure the sump, we measure the sediment in it. And if it's over a threshold, then we vector that out, we remove that before it can get into the water.
And doing that every other year is generally enough.
We do it yes, so the whole system, it's required by our permit terms. So we have to inspect every catch basin in the city on a 2-year basis. Yeah. And then the third reason we're looking in there was looking to see if the structure itself is physically intact. Has it got cracks? Is it damaged? Is it functioning correctly? Is it blocked? So those are the things we look for. Situation 3, ongoing. If you look at that picture, you can see a mess. What that is irrigation wires. Some of them are station wires, communication wires that go with our irrigation system that allow us to control it remotely. And somebody, not me, put a tree right on top of that. And the tree did not have bad intent. It's just a failure of design. There's two design failures. One, you don't place the tree on top of the electrical box and the other infrastructure there. Two, you give the tree some soil to go into instead of into loose utility corridors, right? Wherever utilities are buried, there is softer material or gravel or sand that the roots can find their way into. And so this failed. So basically we lost irrigation to Community Park. We lost remote control of that. We addressed that by basically hand setting each station. Justin, our irrigation tech, did that. But we have to fix this so we can control the whole system remotely. We did air excavation here. So the yellow rod that you can see on the upper left is actually pneumatic excavation. A couple of reasons for that. We were under the false pretense that we might be able to save the tree. Did not occur, obviously. The second thing is, when you're dealing with wires and electricity, air better than water. So we tried that, didn't work. Since then, the tree is gone. And in a combination of our irrigation technician, Justin, and a contractor who actually used to be an irrigation technician here, are working to repair this. The difficulty is tracing those wires. Look at the mess. Look at the bundle of wires that are there. So that's what's taking the time, but that will get repaired. And then we'll be able to control the irrigation system remotely again. So that's what we have. As Jeff said, this wasn't the only things we did this week. This is the stuff that came up that we felt needed to be addressed. But I'm proud of the team for addressing 2 of those 3 on the Wednesday of that week. So
Is this what's going on over kind of near the restroom?
that is correct.
Dang, that was a good tree too. That was a big one.
How long do you anticipate the repair will take for the rewiring and such?
Week.
A week. A week. Well, if I may make an additional comment, I was very happy to see all the safety precautions, especially in those deeper trenches where you guys are showing those up and using the excavator boxes and things like that. So cool.
Absolutely.
That was the challenging part about that too, because of all the other utilities around. So one of the challenges when we're dealing with retrofitting or working on existing utilities is that there's bound to be other utilities around it, right? There's communications, sometimes there's buried electric, a lot of times there's gas, and just all kinds of things. And so when you dig with a bucket, you can go in there with an excavator, there's too great a risk that you're going to damage that. So we do a lot of the either the Vactor, hydrovacting, or the air knife applications to work around those existing utilities so we can get down to them. Typically with the Vactor trucks, we rent those for a day. When you hire them up, if they come out for 4 hours, they charge you for a day. In this case, we were able to use that Vector truck to do 2 projects that we were working on and to do a whole bunch of video inspections out on 384th. So we actually use him for an entire day. So we got our money's worth out of that.
Great.
One other point I'd like to make too is that the concrete work that needs to be restored, we're going to do that in-house. We actually have folks now who know how to do that. And this is the direction that we are actively trying to move into so that we can self-perform more of the work that we used to send out to contractors. Now, that is in an effort to save money, but we can only do that if we have enough staff so that they can do their regular activities at the same time. But we find that, you know, it's challenging, but the employees like it because it kind of breaks up their routine. And it allows those guys to kind of, you know, do the things that they love to do. And we take advantage of their skills, their skill sets. And so we would like to continue to do that. We are actively looking at ways to save the city money. And we believe that with the addition of 2 employees, mostly probably in the Parks Division, we can get more done and do better work for less money. And we think we can demonstrate that, not just by after the fact, but before the fact. We will demonstrate to you how much money we've spent on contracting over the last several years and compare that to what it would cost us to do it in-house if we had the staff. And
Your theory being that it'll more than pay for the staff, the savings that.
I think it'll be substantial. Yeah, I think that part of the issue is, and I think it's good management technique, is to don't overstaff, right? We want to keep ourselves staffed relatively lean and then rely on contractors to make up the difference when we can't do it ourselves, right? That's good policy. But I think with the city growing and the amount of activity that we have now, we are understaffed to where we are paying more in contractor costs than we should, where we actually need that staff just to maintain what we have now. But with the application of a few more staff, you know, from the city's level, we'll end up saving a lot of money on contracting costs and get better work. That's a key factor too. So we will obviously demonstrate that before we go. I'm sure Mike's not going to let us hire anybody if we don't demonstrate how it's going to be. It doesn't pencil out. So we're working with our finance group to develop that strategy.
Well, I think also important will be to know how quickly those savings will be realized.
Mhm.
You know, if it's we'll start saving money in 3 years, that might have a different response than.
I'll give you a good example. So right now, I believe we spend something like how much does we spend on the mini parks? $226,000 yearly on mini parks, right?
What parts?
Mini parks. We have a
Parks.
Atwork contract, is a company named Atwork. And they maintain our mini parks. And we feel certain that we could bring that in-house. So there'd be immediately, we would stop paying the 200. That's going up, by the way. That is an existing contract that we have, which is going to come to an end. We have the ability to extend it for another year at those rates. But following that, those rates are going to go up quite a bit. We know this because we've been watching it happen all over the place. The contracting has gotten a lot more expensive. So we believe, well, we've already, you know, back of envelope shows pretty clearly that, you know, with the addition of 2 staff in parks, that we could save that money. Not only that, but we can get more done, right? So it's not just that. It's not just the mini parks, but those additional staff in the shoulder seasons could do things like gutters, painting, you know, all the other things that we hire contractors to do, that now gets done in-house.
So that $226,000 contract, how much of that is just labor? Is that just the labor cost of that contract?
That would include labor and, you know, the incidental. So, you know, the, what they would term, yeah, right. Gasoline, you know, the equipment, everything that they do. Yeah.
So some of that we would still need. We wouldn't save the whole.
We'd need to
226,000.
add a truck, right? We would need to probably add some hand tools. We'd need to, cover not just the labor, our labor, but some other incidentals that go along with that. But again, we will demonstrate, before we make that proposal. Yeah. So that's kind of the direction we're trying to go. We think that it's a better value for the city as we grow. We have to do it, but we want to demonstrate it first before we start marching off and just say, hey, we need more people. We can't keep up, right? Give us more people.
Right. Big Cat?
And that was actually along the line of the question that I had was because this is the same company that does all of the city stuff, like
Mhm.
all the landscaping and
Mhm.
and the parkway and such like that, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was just gonna say, if we're putting people in parks, can we do our own parks? Can we do all that,
Yeah.
kind of stuff?
And there's multiple things going on here too. This is a much more complex situation. The Ridge Owners Association has a contractor as well, right? And they maintain their areas of responsibility. And then we maintain our areas of responsibility. We used to use the same contractor, this company called NLS,
Mhm.
right? So when we got we rebid our contract and we got a new contractor and it was at work. NLS bid on it, but they didn't win. So the new contractor at work, they are following the contract to the letter. So they only do what's in their contract. The Ridge Owners Association hired a new contractor as well. NLS was too expensive for them too. So they got a new contractor. They are following their contract to the letter. Suddenly there are a few areas which neither contract cover that used to get done, but now are not. So we're finding that we are having to fill that gap. And it's really challenging our park staff, especially now. It's kind of vacation season. Things are growing like crazy. It's very challenging for us to keep up with it. So this is where we really feel it. We're staffed for wintertime operations, right? That's what we staff at. So during the winter, when there's not a lot to do, that's where our staffing level is. And then we make up the summertime with contracts and we hire seasonals. Right. But the seasonals, there's only some things you can't have seasonals do. We can't put them in lawnmowers, and I don't think we're not supposed to, they can't handle equipment, things like that. So, we're always challenged in the summer to try to keep up and in the wintertime, when we do a lot of maintenance, we hire contractors to do those maintenance items. Well, if we hire the right people, and we're finding out that, some of these young guys that we hire, they're contractors, they know how to do all that stuff. And they're like, why hire a contractor? Well, I know how to do that. We got carpenters, good carpenters. We have guys who know how to do concrete, right? We can do a lot, and we want to do more. And we think that it behooves us to do more. It's good value. So that's kind of our strategy moving forward. We'll move into it slowly. We're not going to we're not going to suddenly become contractors, right? But so it'll be judicious use of contracting and try to do more in-house in the shoulder seasons and in the winter. Mhm.
Is one of these landscaping companies one of the ones the one that's currently leasing the property out at? Parks and
That's
Public Works?
NLS.
Is it?
Yeah,
Are they, I mean, they're planning on staying and. doing
they
their lease?
just re-up their lease on that
I
site.
was
Yeah,
wondering if they're
right.
leasing contracts out.
I think they're still working in North Bend. They got work in places. They do a lot of private work as well, right? So they still have a fairly substantial crew that they run out of that site.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our presentation. If you guys have any questions, we'd love
What are
to.
you doing the rest of the week?
So you made the comment that emergencies are
Yeah.
somewhat routine. What level of emergencies is the expected number? How many of you use the word emergency? How many emergencies a year do we expect to encounter?
That's a difficult question. So what I'll say is there's an uptick in things breaking purely because things are aging. So the ridge now, the infrastructure has been there 25 plus years in some areas. And so after 25 years, yeah, we're seeing some failures in lines. We're seeing like this irrigation situation, right? It was going to be a problem at some point, and then the problem came along now because of that aging infrastructure.
So do we have any kind of a graph of these emergencies over the last 5 years that we can look at and see what kind of an increase we've had as these things are failing?
We don't have a graph. We could come up with something.
We obviously have costs. We have not tracked costs well in the past. But we are improving, especially with the preventive tiling. And so now that we have asset management, we are tracking costs much better. We have a new charter of accounts so that, we are appropriately charging to the right accounts so that we can track costs better.
See, it seems like something that's gonna make it easier for you to make a case for,
To demonstrate where we're spending our money.
right.
So the work order system that we have now will be providing that data. So in the next 3 years, you're kind of filling those fields. Then we can start to use the predictive maintenance program part of Tyler to try to get ahead of some of these repairs before they occur. But you have to have a track record in Tyler for that AI to work.
Is there a feature to this where you can say, when these sewer lines were put in the first time and it can sort of make predictions based on
Yes.
other places that use Tyler or?
Yep.
No, not so much on sewer lines. It's more like.
Yeah,
homes
I
and
remember, I don't know what I'm
light
talking
bulbs and-
about, like whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
looking at the age of what we have.
Equipment, yes. But you need a few years of history with that unit to populate first before it can start to detect trends and make those predictions.
I can give you some more additional background on this. This is strictly engineering. So design life for most infrastructure is 50 years. That's your design life. Certain things are going to last longer, right? Obviously, you look at around the infrastructure that we have. We have things in the ground that have been there for 100 years, right? And water lines are a good example. That's, ductile iron pipe. That's going to last 100 years if everything works fine, if you don't have breaks. But what happens over time is things shift around, right? So what you don't have like the entire system fail. What you'll have is, small failures. Valves will wear out or break or freeze, right? That's one of the reasons why we now have a valve exercise program, right? Fire hydrants will kind of weld themselves together if you don't do periodic maintenance on them. Now we do a hydrant maintenance program, or we're doing the hydrant maintenance program, where we hadn't done that for years, right? And when I first got here, we hadn't maintained our fire hydrants for years. And so, we're doing things better now to do the preventive maintenance. Again, it kind of goes back to that, if you spend the money now to maintain it, you end up spending less in the long run, right? If you wait till it breaks and fix it, well, you're going to fix it at that expense and then replace it at a very high expense in tomorrow's dollars. That's the wrong way to manage a utility. So we're trying to get that back on track. As far as being predictive on when things are going to break, that gets tricky until you get out near the end of the design life. At some point, what you're going to see, like you could equate it to a car, right? As your car ages, it starts breaking down with increasing frequency, right? Little things go, and that bill starts to add up, right? And so the utility is going to be a little bit that way. As equipment ages, things will break, and you'll fix that little thing. And sometimes when you fix that little thing, it overworks something else, right? And suddenly something else breaks, and then you're just chasing your tail. And at some point you go, we just got to replace all this, right? So maintaining it is our best bet. And that's the direction we have been moving in now for the last 3 years, 4 years. I saw your hand up.
No, actually.
Okay.
Well, my hand's always up anyway, but
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Oh, that was great
Okay.
information.
That's what we got. So yeah, if you have any more questions, though, we're happy to talk about it.
Thanks for that insight.
Thank you.
What we got?
I think that brings us to the end of our agenda, if I remember right. Was there anything else on there?
Nope, that was all.
All right, then, anybody have anything else? If not,
Did you get my email?
I didn't get your email. No.
But sort of for a future agenda, I just wanted to talk to you about that. So we can do that later.
Was there a discussion item that you wanted to talk about?
But it was at the request of some of our downtown citizens. And so, but I'll talk to you more about it.
Okay, all right, great.
See how busy our agendas are going forward.
Well, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.